There we go. Okay, welcome everyone to the nteract sprints. Sorry, not nteract sprints. The weekly meeting. I just realized, spoilers. I'm going to talk about the sprints because they're coming up. Yeah. So today on the call we've got Sarah, Matthias, Ben, and Alex. I think Alex is going to have to dial in. Audio was funky. Yeah. So I think since I just did some introductions kind of before we started recording. I'm going to introduce some of the people that work on the project. So Matthias here works on the, I've been echoing. Matthias works on the IPython kernel and kind of the surrounding Jupyter protocol parts, and did the original type implementation for nteract to show types of functions, variables, everything else. I was kind of pushing a lot of those pieces forward for Jupyter. And then Ben works on hydrogen and then also works on the nteract monorepo. Hydrogen is the atom package. And then Alexander on the call has tons of things across the nteract monorepo. Lately has gotten has been working on like a tray icon for launching notebooks from your like top bar. So yeah, I guess I could have everybody introduce themselves, but I just went ahead and did it because I think of you all highly. So yeah, so everybody that's on the call now is also coming to the sprints, and I've finally gotten some more logistics around the sprints done behind the scenes. So we'll actually have a room, which I didn't know would happen last week. So I'm just hoping to get things put together at the last moments. Yeah, and some folks have joined the Sprint channel on Slack and are wanting to work on various things. I've gotten various people that want to help with stuff. And so there's at least a few people that want to work on Python things, of which I'm not leading a Python area except for the kind of user documentation. So if anybody's not leading a project or wants to help kind of move that in a direction, I think that could be really helpful. The folks that have requested this are also remote, like one person's in London.
I can try to help for the Python side of things. I want to discuss, among other things, about Jedi.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it might be good to put up as a project like what you'd want to work on. So this was like the person in the room was in the Slack room. I think is fairly new to software engineering, I said, but they have background in Python. So yeah, we'll get people connected. Yeah, that could be fun. Yeah, that's really it for me. I was just like, sprints are set. I'm working on docs. People should kind of pick an area that they want to work on, and at least for Ben and Lucas. I don't know what do you plan to work on, Ben?
Well, I mentioned kind of before the meeting, I've been digging into the monorepo a little more. And I was thinking, the sprints would be kind of a good opportunity to work with some people and really dig in. I saw you posted something about improving the docs and also dev docs, which I think is definitely worth working on. And I think it's probably something that could get me acclimated a little more too, working through some things. So I definitely think we could use some really nice docs. Show everybody how to use things and how to dig into the code.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, somebody told me, this UV, that I think the biggest value for nteract is the components. I'm like, maybe we should actually make those available to people so they can read about them, which is why I started. And I'm like, okay, clearly everything needs to end up in here. So, yeah. That'll be good. I'll be really happy working dev docs with folks.
I don't know if, did Alex ever connect? I just wanted to say that as I've been digging into the mono repo, I've been reading through some of your PRs recently. And it's helped, they're pretty good in getting me some experience there. I was looking at the tray one last night. I think that looks promising. There's probably some cool stuff we can do with that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd be happy to work with you on anything. I'm still learning quite a lot myself, but I do have sort of a big picture of where to go to start working on different parts of the application. But yeah, I'd definitely be happy to work on anything with you.
Yeah, I appreciate all the work lately.
Well, my pleasure.
I don't always comment, but just wanted you to know that I appreciate those PRs.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that.
Hey, Lucas, we haven't met in person or virtually in person or anything, but Lucas and I have worked a lot together in the past on hydrogen. But this is the first time seeing each other, I think.
Yeah,
how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. I don't have a lot of time for hydrogen and nteract these days anymore,
Yeah.
but I hope to dig into the nteract and hydrogen stuff during the sprint. I'm sad I cannot meet there in person, but I'll be joining in remotely here.
Well, that's kind of one of the side reasons, or one of the side things I wanted to do during the sprints, is just kind of get more comfortable with working with people remotely. And I just think this will be like kind of an icebreaker for doing that, maybe a little more down the line.
Yeah, sure. Really looking forward to that. You did amazing work in hydrogen, clearing all those issues up, and really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a really good learning experience for me. The first time I made that PR and you asked if I wanted to keep helping out, that was a pretty big thing for me. I didn't even really know much JavaScript at all. And since then I've learned I could just name things probably for the rest of the meeting that I've learned, but you know what I mean, all the frameworks and everything, but I've really enjoyed it and stuck with it. And so I'm, just really happy to be a part of this.
Yeah, I'm really glad you came along. That exactly the same way how it went for me, how I learned JavaScript. That's really enjoyed that.
I would say if we did work on anything or for hydrogen, you mentioned the issues that I've kind of let those go as well. It's at my new job, for whatever reason, I can't comment on issues at work from my work computer, like even in a browser. And that was how I was able to really stay on top of those, because I had my work computer where I don't have like a dev setup. So I would just go through issues and comment on them and close what I could and kind of like remind myself to do some things later, but I haven't been able to do that. But one thing I think we could improve is there seem to be a lot of really common issues that come up. You see the same ones. It's either got something to do with Node JIP or what are the other common ones, like the kernel not found.
Kernel, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. It's basically those issues are really the same. They pop up in nteract, just minus the install bits. But yeah, we should definitely promote the nteract/kernel side in both the readmes of nteract and Jupyter and hydrogen, because people have weird setups, and we should definitely add the environment thing, how to do this with visual envies and stuff to the website. So I hope we find time there to collaborate.
Yeah, I'm wondering too if we should look at some things like Lockbot and maybe some of the other automation stuff that's in the mono repo to see if we could get some help through automation for hydrogen as well.
Yeah.
those are really easy for us to enable too, because they're already like allowed on the org. But I didn't know if everybody would want me to unleash it upon everyone, so I only hit the mono repo. Because it's kind of opinionated once you figured it.
Yeah, it got a lot better after the notifications turned off. It was a little much when we first got started, and then we were just blown up with notifications. But
oh my god, it's ridiculous. Yeah, and like you have to just enable lockbot with, and then have it not leave comments. Just lock the issue, and then hope people have enough context that it's locked. Like, I wish that there was a way to leave a message without creating a notification. Like, if someone comes upon this later, this isn't an issue you want anymore. Right now, it doesn't say that, so. Hopefully. I think that some of the toughest things in this is, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I would be just thumbs up for enabling it for the whole org, or at least for hydrogen.
I think we enabled it on Papermill. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because a lot of old issues are either not relevant anymore, or the solutions used to work, but now are fixed in a different way. So, yeah, sadly, it's an application, and you cannot ignore application notifications in GitHub. User notification you can ignore, but not from the bot. So.
Cool. Yeah. Everybody here should have permissions. So Ben, feel free to enable it as long as your computer allows it.
Yeah, well, I didn't, one thing I didn't know was if there's like a configuration or anything I would have to set up, and I just haven't gotten around to reading through the lockbot docs.
I mean, you could probably steal the one that's within .github/lock.yaml in the nteract mono repo, because that'll have the configuration that you'll want, which is no comments. And then everything else is pretty easy to read. It's like how long until it locks. Put in like a number of days or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I can make the PR too. I try as much as possible not to give out work. Cool. Yeah, we'll get that set up. And Elijah is on the call.
Yeah, I finally found it. I was looking around for some kind of invite internal at Netflix and didn't find it there. Anyway, how are things going? What have I missed?
We talked about the sprints, what folks are excited to work on. Yeah, so now we're kind of talking about org-wide maintenance and things. But so Elijah is the person that put together the Data Explorer, I guess round 2 of the Data Explorer, because round 1 came from the winter sprints. It's pretty awesome. And I converted Elijah to Flow, and then now he's converted Semiotic to Flow. So brain is now formed.
This is good. So Kyle, I still need to do some kind of advertising. Try to pull some people in to do some Data Explorer sprinting. Does that still sound like a good idea?
Oh, definitely. We've widely published things now, so.
Yeah, if anybody knows anyone who knows React, who's interested in data visualization, who wants to work with me on the Data Explorer, that'd be great. And otherwise, I'm just going to tweet it out. I'll put together some kind of tweet today and just draw some attention to it.
Sweet. That would be awesome. I don't have anything else. Anybody else has anything?
Oh, I was going to ask Kyle, for the dev docs, I can think of lots of good examples of like user docs and API references and stuff, but I'm trying to think of like, you have something in mind for the dev docs, maybe as an inspiration.
So, if I link to docs that I like a lot for this kind of thing, so that I guess if we state what the purpose of the developer docs is is to enable others to build their own applications with nteract components and libraries. And then most importantly, for people to have a good on-ramp so that they can work on nteract itself. And that'll be, those are like the main pillars. And so I think that means that we have to have probably 3 types of content, which is guides, which teach you how to do certain kinds of things, like maybe to investigate React performance, kind of how you look at it within the notebook and kind of where things matter and why it matters. And then things like, oh, okay, if I was going to build, so we have a bunch of content that's hidden away in nteract/docs, but it's like outdated now, and we haven't pushed it widely, which teaches like, oh, how would you build a console, like the Jupyter console, using nteract libraries? So we've done this like a few times, and just the same. So it's like, you know, give somebody a walkthrough that teaches them how to work with the Jupyter protocols to build apps, and like without the front end pieces. But probably along the way, maybe teaching them Node. And then for us, probably the same thing on these like tutorials and guides is that we also make sure to point people towards where to learn React, where to learn RX, where to learn the mono repo. But then kind of have our own flavored version that teaches them about ours. And then I think what you're rightly suspecting, and is largely what we've worked on lately, which is API docs. It's like, oh, okay, how do I use, like, what is this component and how do I use it? And then I think there's kind of 2 flavors in there too, because the way that you do component documentation is different than the way you do library documentation. But I think we need to build each of those. The components one has been like super easy to work on because you use React DocGen and it's like, it reads your flow types and just spits out this like page that's interactive. You can like change the component on. And so you can keep doing those because they're like easy for us to on-ramp, and it forces us to get in a cycle of like when we build a component, like we write the docs. Yeah, I don't actually know what to do for the library side, and I think we'll figure that one out. I also played with documentation.js, so I don't know. But yeah, those are kind of like the pillars that I'm thinking of. One of the things that I like how, I'm going to pull this up. Actually, you know what? I can screen share. Okay. So this is a new React router that came out, and I really like that this is organized by. So it's got a bunch of examples for how to use particular components, and they do it with a code sandbox. And then they have a full tutorial that'll run through everything you need, and you can step through the tutorial. I don't necessarily like this triple pane layout thing here, but organization-wise, what's this all about? What are all the examples? Here's a tutorial of using it. Some guides for bigger things, for how you'd put stuff together, kind of like a best practices section. And then the actual API. And then this is even broken up by what you're probably going to need, and then what you might not need, but should still be documented. So I'm hoping that we can do something like that kind of allows people to float through that ladder of abstraction where they might need a beginner's intro, or they might need something much deeper. But I think as long as we're documenting each of the components the way that we're doing right now, like we'll keep reaching towards this, as long as we keep also deploying it, using it ourselves. So that's my thinking. I think I talked for too long about that. Yeah, this is it. This is kind of the idea that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for in the answer. So
cool. Yeah, so I think this means that I probably need to add more to the docs project, docs.md within nteract sprints.
Oh yeah, the other thing about that is I couldn't figure out an intuitive way to comment about a project on that repo. Like, should I open an issue or?
Oh yeah, so I guess opening an issue is fine. as is, if you make a PR and then ask, sometimes I do this. I'll open a PR and say, okay, this isn't a PR for merging. And it's literally just, you write questions as comments, and then you try to like update the document by asking questions. Like if you don't know what to change, but you know something maybe needs a change, you basically make a PR that's like, should we change this? And it'll leave little comments. And since it's markdown, I guess you have to write HTML comment.
Yeah.
Or you just write it in there. So yeah, either one will work. Issues are good. Those are good. Em raised some really good questions the other day. I don't know if folks saw that issue. It was on nteract/sprints, or nteract/global sprint, rather. I think it's issue number. What is a project for the purposes of organizing the sprints? Issue number 18. Yeah. And I only answered like one thing out of it, but everybody should take a look at that. So that's in Global Sprint, and that's issue number 18. I'll link it in the chat channel. We have exactly 6 minutes meeting time remaining, and we should end now because we're on the free tier for Zoom.us, and I don't want to upgrade. It's kind of weird. Yeah. Anyway, that's the issue. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. Probably everybody should go check it out. I'll link it in the Slack channel. And since this is YouTube, I'll provide a link down below in the description. All right. Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you very much, Kyle.
Yep.
See you guys later.
All right. See you all later.
See you.